Now wait a second, allow me to explain. There are certain characters that are protected like they are above criticism because they happen to be more human-like. And this aspect I cannot stand personally, and I have a huge issue with this. But before I discuss my issues with this topic, I think we have to understand which characters fall underneath this umbrella. Well, firstly, we have a character by the name of Usopp that you already know from One Piece. Now, as you guys already know, I have not been easy on Usopp. I'm somebody that is holding Usopp to what he said he wanted to do. He wants to be a brave warrior, so I want to see actions of that within the anime and the manga. But a lot of the Usopp defenders out there have said, well, listen, he brings a humanity to the crew, he brings a happiness, he brings the vibes, and that's something that I honestly have an issue with when it comes to his character as a whole. There are many times Usopp was needed in combat and he fell short, to a point so much so that there are crewmates on the Straw Hat crew as we speak that don't want to rely on Usopp. You know it's bad when Nami is looking around saying, oh damn, I am left with Usopp, Zoro, Sanji, Luffy aren't here, this is tough, I don't know if I'm gonna make it out. And the Usopp defenders love to bring up points, well, Usopp did defeat Perona and all these other things. That's not what I'm looking for. When it comes to these human-like characters, it is not about the action, it is not about the Oonga Boonga seeing them fight. That is not the discussion here. What I personally want from Usopp and what I think he truly needs is to bring the same exact passion that he had when he fought against Luffy in defense of the Going Merry. We need that Usopp back, and the fact that he did not think that Usopp was necessary against a character like Big Mom, he did not think that Usopp was necessary against a character like Kaido, and all of what was going on in Wano, in Egghead, and now we are in Elbaf, is something I have a major issue with. I want you guys to see what I had to say personally on the subject. Listen, I'm not saying Usopp has to go out there and one-shot Big Mom, one-shot Kaido or something like that. Of course not. Nobody is saying that. But there comes a point in time where your crewmates need help, they need assistance, and they need to be able to rely on you in crew battles. Yes. Of course, One Piece is more than just fights and battles. We get that. You think I'm just watching One Piece just for the fights and battles? Are you crazy? But the crew at some point needs to realize that, hey, if we're trying to get to the One Piece, we're going to need to learn how to box. And sorry to tell y'all Usopp fans, Usopp's role on the crew literally is a combat role. He is a sniper. That is a combat role. So how are you getting upset with people calling out Usopp for not being combative and not being able to box in situations where his role on the crew is to be able to fight? It makes no sense at all. And I stand by every single word that I said, because I don't believe just saying that these characters are more human-like should be an acceptance for their failures or character flaws. Usopp is the Straw Hat crew's biggest liability, and the motivation he needs to help shake that narrative has been given to him in abundance. How has he still not capitalized on any key moments? That's my issue. Now, for the second character, his name is Takamichi from Tokyo Revengers. I know, I get it. People love Tokyo Revengers. When people call Takamichi a crybaby, I do understand that that is kind of harsh to an extent. But guys, to sit here and act like Takamichi does not have crazy flaws within his character and to give him a pass because you want to say he's more human-like is crazy to me. Takamichi has been afforded an opportunity that nobody in the real world has ever been afforded, and that is the ability to go back in time and save people who have passed away who care about you. Could you imagine you have a chance to go back in time and save a family member, save a significant other? The things that people in the real world would be willing to do to have that opportunity, and what they would do once they have the opportunity, are insane. To say that Takamichi is more human-like when he has failed time and time and time again to fix a scenario that he has been given this blessing damn near situation to help fix is wild. I had the opportunity to break down how I truly felt about Takamichi on Life with Anime podcast, and I want you guys to see exactly what I had to say and what Joe had to say as well. Takamichi is a character that knew his situation on multiple occasions and literally tried to fix the situation by doing the same thing and not locking in, not working out, not getting into the gym, not throwing
What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results.
Yes.
Bruh, learn how to box. You got the two biggest, baddest dudes by your side all day long.
Yes.
Hit the freaking gym!
Now, once the Takamichi defenders got a hold of this clip, they started going crazy, saying things like Takamichi is a character that should be afforded more time. How was he able to learn how to fight in that scenario? And this is the point that I think is getting completely missed in this type of conversation. I am a Tokyo Revengers fan. I love the supporting cast of Tokyo Revengers, but watching Takamichi is such a hard thing for me to do. You have to understand that it was the moment that I got to see Takamichi interact with Baji. Baji was a character that Takamichi actually looked up to. And Baji, as we know from Tokyo Manji Gang, was one of the realest fighters, one of the realest stand-up dudes in the entire gang. Baji was basically their Vegeta. He was their shadow. He was that guy. And this is somebody that Takamichi was looking up to. Takamichi was idolizing Baji's greatness. But what killed it for me was the fact that Takamichi literally saw Baji die. And instead of emulating his personality, learning how to be that strong, fearless leader, after this, he still wasn't boxing. He still wasn't boxing. And to follow up with the fact that Chifuyu, who is literally Baji's former right-hand man, decided to follow Takamichi. And people love Takamichi off of this. And the fact that Takamichi still wasn't boxing off of him literally taking Baji's role as captain is insane to me. And what I want to tell the Usopp defenders out there and the Takamichi defenders out there is that this is not a conversation about them being the greatest fighters in the series. This is not a conversation about them being Unga Boonga Gokus. Me personally, that is not what I'm looking for. What I am looking for is their dying will, passion. Takamichi is human in a way that he's able to cry and process his emotions, which is fine. That is definitely necessary for his character, and that is a real life theme. We understand that. That's why we call Takamichi human-like. But what I don't think is human-like is that if you are able to have an opportunity to save somebody you love by going back in time and doing something crazy, most humans would crash out. Takamichi has yet to crash out after seeing people die that he cares about. He's cried more than crashing. Usopp has had opportunities where he was supposed to crash out. You crashed out against Luffy, so we know you have it in you. We do not need Usopp to be Yasopp level, but to show us a little resemblance of your father in your fighting style would be nice. It would be nice. We are looking for passion in these characters, and people are making too many excuses for these characters that lack passion in moments where they are supposed to have passion. There's another character that gets called out for not having this crazy passion, but I do disagree with this because I think his situation is a little bit different, and this is Subaru from Re:Zero. A lot of people have called Subaru one of the worst characters because of this same scenario. They kind of try to compare him to Takamichi, but I think Takamichi and Subaru are in totally different situations. First of all, Takamichi is a grown adult that had a chance to go back in time as a kid and realize that, hey, I can save people by just beating up some middle schoolers. That is totally different than Subaru being cursed, having to go back and fight against people that have magical powers, and he cannot compete, y'all. He cannot compete with them having magical powers, and he was cursed by Satella that he didn't even figure out until later seasons. Subaru is in a completely different scenario, completely different situation. Plus, Subaru is in the fact that if he's able to save somebody, another person dies. Subaru plugs one leak in the pipe, and then another leak happens. Subaru loses his mind. Sometimes he even has to clap himself. Now, I will say there are times where it does truly feel like Subaru is falling into the Takamichi range, but for the most part, I would separate Subaru from Takamichi, and the reason why is I feel like there are times, not every single time loop, but there are times where it felt like Subaru did everything in his power to make something happen and it still didn't work out. Takamichi in his time loops, it does not feel the same way. There are times you were watching Takamichi in a time loop and it does not feel like he did everything he needed to do, possibly he could have done to help save somebody's life. So now that we have our set of characters, Takamichi and Usopp mainly, you guys may be wondering, Rob, what are you really talking about? What are you really trying to get towards? One of my favorite basketball players of all time and one of the greatest minds in sports and also in media just in general is Kobe Bryant. Now, Kobe was known for having the Mamba mentality, which is this killer instinct to be great, the greatest version of yourself. But there's actually something that's a little bit deeper to it. So I actually want him to tell you himself, and we'll take a look at this clip together.
Every muse cage is powered by two forces. Light musings.
You're nice.
Oh, thank you.
You're great.
Oh, so nice of you.
And dark musings.
Worthless. You're a failure.
Make it stop.
Light musings make you feel good and happy.
Yeah.
Dark musings make you feel bad and angry. But what they don't understand is that dark musings just may be our greatest source of energy and power.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, That's the clip. That's what I'm talking about. It's not that we don't want our characters to process their emotions, process those dark musings. It's just the fact that they have the opportunity to flip those dark musings to help them excel, help them persevere. And these characters, Usopp and Takamichi, fail to do so time and time again, which makes it hard for me to watch them. Now let's take a look at some other human-like characters that have done the opposite of Usopp and Takamichi. Sung Jin-woo from Solo Leveling was known as the worst hunter in the entire anime. People literally looked down on him, and it's to a point that he was in a dungeon raid, literally going up against the god statue, one of the craziest beings that we've seen in the entire manhwa, the entire anime. And it was the fact that members in his own party were running away, leaving him out to dry. So Sung Jin-woo is a character that has a whole bunch of dark musings already lined up, but it's the fact that he was able to take those dark muses and help it boost his reawakening. Once he knew he had the opportunity to level up, he said, all right, I'm taking advantage of this moment. Leveled up by himself. Literally, it's in the title of the manhwa, Solo Leveling. And now he is a person that people revere, people respect. There are other A rank and S rank hunters out there that literally have to look at Sung Jin-woo and say, hold on, wait a minute. This dude is on a different level. He made S rank hunters apologize to him. This is the same E rank hunter that started in the beginning of the series. Sung Jin-woo has his own shadow army. He now protects people when people thought he needed to be protected, and they just use him as a pack mule in raids. Now you may be saying, well, Rob, this isn't fair. Sung Jin-woo got an opportunity to unlock his reawakening. Usopp didn't have an opportunity to do so. Takamichi didn't have an opportunity to do so. How is this fair? You're wrong. Usopp had many opportunities to do so. As a matter of fact, 3D2Y was Usopp's opportunity to do so. Luffy literally gave them extra time and said, hey, we'll reconvene. Make sure you guys get in the gym, get better, get stronger. And what did Usopp come back with? He used observation haki in Dressrosa. That was nice. Where has it been since then? Takamichi, he has time looping abilities. That means he could literally reset and try again. And what has he done in terms of his fighting ability? His fighting ability has barely gone up versus the people's lives that are being lost. This is the issue that I have with those characters. Boji from Ranking of Kings. Boji is a character that is mute. People looked down on Boji and he was of royal status, to the point where even though Boji was more fit to be the successor of King Boss, what did they say? Oh, you can't speak, you're mute, you're incapable of being a leader, let's pass it off to Daida, who is a crash out. But what did Boji learn from this scenario? He was able to take those dark musings, that anger, all of the things that were happening to him, and flip it and use it to help propel him forward. And I love how Ranking of Kings literally, it's in the character itself. Kage is of the Shadow Clan, literally is representing Boji's dark side, the dark musings of Boji. You could literally say Kage is Boji's interpreter for his anger and his bad feelings. But being able to work alongside his anger, which is Kage, it helped propel him forward. Boji doesn't go anywhere without Kage, and Kage doesn't go anywhere without Boji. And the entire verse that was looking down on Boji relied on Boji in the end. Boji is one of the top swordsmen in the entire verse, and he's one of the best defensive fighters in the entire verse. He can literally counter and reflect basically anything. And this is somebody that was mute that they looked down on. So why is it a problem when we expect to see this type of fervor from Usopp and Takamichi? Boji is human-like. Sung Jin-woo is human-like. What is the issue? Simone from Gurren Lagann is another character, an example of a human-like character that saw Kamina rise to fame, rise to power. And Kamina was telling him, hey, believe in yourself over and over. And if you don't believe in yourself, believe in the me that believes in you. Simone was looked down upon as being not powerful. He literally saw his love interest, Yoko, making out with somebody else. That was Kamina. That tore him apart. He had enough dark musings to move forward. And what did he do? He used those dark musings. He used the fact that Kamina passed away to help him push forward and become the leader that he needed to be. That's what we are looking for when you're talking about characters like Usopp and Takamichi. And this is because I think there are two paths you can go down. There's either the path that you use your dark musings and flip them and help them propel you forward, or you don't and you keep the dark musings bottled up and you have a crash out moment. But there is a character by the name of Midoriya Izuku, aka Deku from My Hero Academia, that has been killed for years about this. Deku was in a situation where he had obviously some light musings, but he had his dark musings set for him, right? He had Bakugo making fun of him when he was younger because he didn't have a quirk. He had people looking down on him because they didn't think he was powerful enough. He had the pressures of All Might literally making him his successor and dealing with the envy coming from other people that felt that there were better successors like Lemillion. He dealt with all of that. But the issue with Deku, and why people called him a crybaby, is that instead of flipping these dark musings to help him propel himself forward, he kept them bottled up. But what My Hero Academia did beautifully is that they showed what happened to Deku when he kept these feelings bottled up. This became Deku's vigilante arc. Horikoshi showed us what happens when you don't process your dark musing, and that's what happened to Deku. It literally took over him and he became vigilante Deku. And for me, I feel like it was that moment that brought Deku's character writing to an all-time high, because we got to see how all of these things internally really affected him, how he felt inadequate and he felt like he had to shut all his friends out, shut the world out, and just say, you know what, I just gotta save everybody all on my own. And he literally went rogue. He went Sasuke rogue on the entire My Hero Academia verse, damn near. And it took the class to help spread him with some light musings, some happiness, to help bring him back in, reel Deku back in from his own darkness in his head. Those are the things that I feel like Usopp and Takamichi are missing. They are not repurposing their dark musings, their dark emotions, and they're not keeping them bottled up. So how is this human-like? Deku is more human-like than both of them in my eyes. And I think there's one character that really represents this perfectly, and that is the character Suna from Hitman Reborn. Literally, in the beginning of Hitman Reborn shoots Suna with the bullet that makes him really pop out all of his dying will. That's literally what Hitman Reborn is based on. Suna becoming a different version of himself when his back's against the wall, when his dying will comes out. Every human being out there, their emotions would be at an all-time high with their dying will popping out. Your back is against the wall, you're about to die. How hard would you go for something? How motivated would you be in those scenarios? This is what Reborn brought forth out of Suna, and it made Suna become a better version of himself, to a point where he became the Vongala leader, literally the leader of the mafia. This timid kid that was getting made fun of every single day became a beast and a legend because he used his dying will. I mean, we've all heard this famous quote that you gotta want it as bad as you want to breathe. And you mean to tell me Takamichi doesn't want it as bad as he wants to breathe when people are literally dying in front of him? Same with Usopp. Usopp, your crew members are scared for their lives. You don't want it as bad as you want to breathe? I feel like we have to stop making excuses for certain characters that are just missing. Yes, messing up is a part of being human, but so is fixing your mistakes. My problem has never been that these characters are crying and expressing their emotions, because that is human as well. That is part of life. That is very, very important to character growth. That's why I feel like it's tough to really go crazy on Subaru or even Deku. Many people out there in the real world bottle up their emotions, and that's really not a good thing, as we've seen with Vigilante Deku. But there are times where the mission is bigger than you. The people around you are suffering. If your legs can still move, if blood is still pumping in your body, you make the move. You go all out. And defending these characters when they don't do so, I think is sending the wrong message. Now, you guys let me know down in the comment section below whether you disagree with me or agree with me. And I wanted to make sure I got my point across, because I don't want people to misconstrue my points. I do not want Takamichi or Usopp to be the greatest fighters in their series or anything like that if it does not make sense for the story. But I feel like I need to see the passion that we've seen from other characters when their backs are against the wall. It's either you bottle up your emotions and you go through your Vigilante Deku arc, or you repurpose your negative emotions and help it push you forward. But seeing these characters are not doing either does not feel human to me. And that's why I have issues with their characters. With that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.